Welcome back. As promised, we're doing duck à l'orange, and it's a dish that's not so well known as it maybe used to be, but it's a real shame because it's a beautiful dish, and we're going to look at a very interesting way to cook it, perhaps something a little out of the ordinary. First, let's have a look at the ingredients. Here, I've got a nice large organic duck breast. And then I've got two oranges, one slightly larger than the other. One will be for juice, one will be for peel and zest. Then I have some Japanese Mikawa mirin. Make sure it's really good quality mirin. If you go in certain Asian shops and even in supermarket, you'll see some things advertised as mirin that are not mirin. They're just corn syrup. So look on the back of your bottle and make sure your ingredients are right. Here I've got rice, 75%, water, aspergillus, which is just kind of a culture to turn it into sugar, and that's it, nothing more. If it's got things like corn syrup and vinegar, citric acid, anything like that, forget it. It must be really good. I'm not saying this is the best quality, of course. It's not out of Japan, but it's a good one. It's from a organic supermarket, and it's a fairly good mark, and it's a bit more authentic, certainly better than most of the mirin you'll get in the supermarket. You'll have to pay a bit more for it as well, but it's worth it. It's really good stuff. And then, of course, we're going to use some soy sauce. And again, don't use dark soy sauce, whatever you do. You could get away with light soy sauce, but try to get a good soy sauce that has quite a high alcohol content. You know, good soy has alcohol in it. It's not just soy, it's very winey. You'll notice when you add it to your food and it starts boiling off, you'll notice it has a very winey fragrance. So try and use a good one. I'm using Kikkoman here. That works for me. Okay, so first thing we've got to do is to get our duck breast in a marinade for a couple of hours. You could leave it overnight, but I'm just going to do it for a couple of hours. So let me show you how that's done. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our large orange and we use this for the juice. So cut it in half and juice it. Okay, once that's juiced, add the juice to the bowl. And 80 milliliters of mirin and 20 milliliters of soy sauce. Once you've got the liquids in your bowl, you can start zesting your orange and zest it straight into the bowl. Try and get all the zest to go down into that bowl. And it's nice to use a zester. We want these nice curly bits of zest rather than peeling it and chopping it, which looks rather unattractive. Finally, take your duck breast and score the skin diagonally. Start at this end. Be careful just to score the skin. Don't go through to the flesh. We want the fat to render, but we don't want any juices to come out of the skin. So here you are. Once you've finished, you put your duck breast into the marinade and you leave it for a few hours at least. You could leave it overnight. That's fine. It won't harm it at all. And while you're doing that, you've got plenty of time to prepare the rest of the meal. I'm going to be preparing rösti and some sauerkraut. So I'll show you how you do that next. Okay, to make the rösti, the first thing you're going to have to do is to grate some potatoes. I find it much easier just to use a food processor. So we're going to do that now.
as you wring it out, you're going to put it into a bowl once it's dry. So just grab handfuls of it, grab handfuls of your potato mixture. Not too much because then it gets hard to wring out, and just squeeze. You find most of it. Just squeeze as much water out as you can with your hands. I find that's usually enough. We're going to dry these out. We're going to cook them twice and dry them as well in between. So it's not absolutely essential to get 100% of the water out, but we do need to get quite a lot of it out. As you can see, there's loads coming out there. Absolutely loads. And of course, I put the potatoes in water to stop them from going brown.
Once you've got your potatoes all grated and in a bowl, you're ready to season them. They'll want quite a lot of salt, so give a really good pinch of salt. And plenty of pepper. And then just get your hands in there and mix it all in well. Okay, we've got our potatoes seasoned, we've got our pan heating up here. So as you can see, I've got quite a small pan, so I want to make quite nice small rusties that I can actually pile up, make a nice pile of them on the plate, which will look much nicer in terms of presentation. So I find these small frying pans extremely useful. I use them for all kinds of things. I use them not just for frying a single egg. I use them for reductions before I'm going to make a béarnaise sauce. I use them for toasting spices. I use them for shaping burgers. So if you haven't got a little frying pan, I would get one. I find them extremely useful and they're not expensive. Okay, we're going to get plenty of butter in here. As you can see, it's melting nicely. Keep your heat medium, no more than medium. With this, we're not going to fry the rusty. We're going to cook it very slowly, very slowly. We want to cook it through with minimal browning, okay? Because we're going to put it to one side. We're going to put it on a baking sheet and let it dry out, and then we're going to finish it and crisp it up in the oven. It will provide a really crispy, wiry rusty that, yeah, you can't really get just from frying. Okay, so watch that heat. Don't really overcook them. You'll get the feel of it as you go on. I can really pile potato mixture in. I always try to make more potato mixture than I actually need. And even though I rang it out, this is a little bit wet, so it's going to need a lot of cooking just to dry it out. So as you can see, I'm just organising the edges as it cooks, tucking them in. While the potato and rusty cooking gently there on the stove, it's time to say a word about sauerkraut. Now, I suppose when I mention sauerkraut, some people immediately balked at the idea of serving something as delicate as duck à l'orange with something like sauerkraut. But actually, you'll find the sauerkraut makes a fantastic foil for the sweetness and intensity of the sauce. And I think what puts a lot of people off sauerkraut is they don't actually understand how it's even cooked. They buy sauerkraut in a jar, they get it out of the jar, they eat it. Maybe they heat it up and eat it, and they are absolutely disgusted. Well, first of all, you should never use sauerkraut out of a jar. Just forget it. If you can't get fresh sauerkraut, I would not bother eating sauerkraut or trying to prepare it. Here I've got some nice fresh sauerkraut from the supermarket, and it's just much nicer all round. It's not as fusty as the stuff that comes in a jar. And we're going to cook it with many other ingredients. We're not simply going to heat it up. We're going to do quite a lot to it. To this sauerkraut, when I cook it, I'm going to add a clove of garlic, a bay leaf, some juniper berries, about 30 grams of pancetta, about a handful of potato, one finely sliced onion in quarter rings, and a generous amount of butter. We're also going to add salt and pepper as needed. Okay, so certainly we're not just going to open this up, stick it in a pan and serve it. You would find it quite unpleasant if you did that. I'm going to show you the right way to cook sauerkraut, and I think you'll be surprised by what happens to it. Let's have a look. So, first thing before you do anything with your sauerkraut, I've opened the bag, and there's still a lot of juice in there, and we need to get rid of some of that. It's very, very sour, and we don't want all that juice. We want some of it. Don't really wring it out completely dry, but while it's in the bag, it's probably best tip it up and try and squeeze it. So you see, and you can see the juice coming out there. Yeah, just squeeze that there. Like I say, don't get rid of all the juice because that has a lot of great flavour. It does have some nice flavouring, but too much is going to be rather too sour. So I'm just squeezing about 2/3 of the juice left in it. I'm just squeezing out. So I've got my sauerkraut here in a bowl. And as you can see, the rusty's still cooking away nicely. I've got time to do lots of other things while that's cooking slowly. I've even had to turn it down. It's gone brown. That's not going to be a disaster, but certainly we don't want it getting any browner than that. Certainly no browner. So I've even turned it down, and I'm going to cook it even slower. My pan heating up here. First thing I'm going to put in that pan is my butter. Turn that down. I'm also straight away going to add my pancetta. This is the Austrian equivalent. It's called Hamburger. It's actually a little bit stronger than pancetta, but I love it. It makes an excellent substitute, and it's really smoky. Okay, that's the pancetta's browning up nicely. I'm now going to put in my onion. So turn the onion a bit. While the onion's there, I'm also going to throw in now my juniper berries and my bay leaf. As the onion keeps cooking, I'm going to throw in the garlic. Okay, and then in our potato, just a handful of potato. And make sure you saute that potato. We really want to bring the flavour out. So let it saute nicely in the butter for a few moments. Okay. Now that the potato has had a chance to saute, we can start adding our sauerkraut. And break it up as you add it in. Don't throw it all in one lump. You'll need to break it up nicely and keep mixing it in as you go.
It will start to stick to the bottom, the potato, as it goes on cooking. So get some hot water and just pour it in. And in fact, we actually want to rehydrate the sauerkraut slightly. Yeah, you're going to be amazed just how much water this stuff actually absorbs as it rehydrates. Remember, this was cured, this was lacto fermented in salt. So there's still a lot of salt in there and it's still very, very dehydrated. As we go on cooking, this is going to absorb a huge amount of water. Okay, here's our finished sauerkraut. As you can see, it's really bulked up in volume and it's swelled up a bit. It's absorbed an awful lot of water. I kept adding water as I went on. And yeah, this is now finished and it will just sit on the side and we can reheat it when we need it. You'll probably say, well, that's rather a lot of sauerkraut for one person. Certainly I won't eat all that now. It freezes very well. So I'll freeze most of it and I'll have that in a week or two with some toad in the hole. So there's no waste, it will all get stored and used up. As you can see, I'm now ready to cook the duck. I've taken it out of the marinade and I've patted it dry with a paper towel. The reason is there's a lot of sugar in the mirin and it means that the skin will burn very, very quickly if we're not careful. For that reason, I've also inserted a temperature probe because we're going to be cooking this a bit lower than we would normally a duck breast. We have to be really careful we don't burn that skin. To the marinade, I've just stirred in a teaspoon of honey just to give it a little extra sweetness now. So we're ready to start cooking. Completely cold pan, just as you would normally cook a duck breast. Put your duck breast in and turn it on. In this case, quite low. Don't turn it too high. We're going to start it and cook it very gently. I'm just checking regularly to make sure that skin doesn't burn. You've really got to watch it like a hawk, much, much more than you would a normal duck breast. Yeah, this will burn in the blink of an eye if you're not careful. So really keep your eye on it. Okay, there we go. We've just caught it in time there. You have to be super careful. Drain the last of the fat. And now we can add the contents from the marinade. And we can turn the heat right up now. Don't worry about the sauce foaming up, it's just reducing down. It can't burn now. Okay, we're getting close to temperature, so I'm going to take the duck breast out and rest it now. I'm going to cover it in foil. And while that's resting, we can reduce this sauce a little bit more. Finish off the sauce, I'm just going to add about 25 grams of diced butter. Okay, here it is, finished duck breast, and I'm just going to carve it up now. We can have a look, see how it looks inside. Oh, beautiful pink. It's nicely browned on top. Nice thick slices, remember? And look at that. Just lovely medium rare. Gosh, let's get it on a plate. Okay, there you see it, sat on top of the rusty nicely. Got the presentation there. I'm just going to dribble some of this beautiful orange sauce all over it. It's making a bit of a mess there. So, there you have it. The finished article, duck à l'orange, and not all that difficult to achieve very good results. I've just served it up nicely on the rusty underneath. That will soak up all the juices. A little bit of sauerkraut on the side, and we're ready to go. I hope you find the recipe useful, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.